VFX. Did I scare ya? I know. Some visual effects can be scary just based on how complicated the visual effects are. But don't worry, in this video we're going to show you the essentials, the fundamentals that will pretty much enable you to create any type of VFX shot that you like. And in the end, we'll be breaking down a super chaotic wizard magic scene and make it look easy. Because hey, who doesn't like some magic? Rotoscope. I bet I just gave a bunch of VFX artists PTSD. Rotoscoping, or what many editors might call masking, is a very tedious skill, but it's an essential skill for almost every type of VFX shot. For example, what if I want to scare you guys a little by putting a ghost behind me? If I place the ghost in the timeline, it will just be on top of my face. So to fix this, we gotta, you've guessed it, rotoscope. We gotta separate my head from the background. So let's start by duplicating this video of me and putting it on top of the ghost layer. With the top video selected, we're going to go to Effect Controls, Opacity, and let's use this pen tool to mask the shape of my head. You could also use these basic shapes to mask anything more simple. As you can see here, the ghost is sneaking up behind me. Spooky. However, when I click play, the mask doesn't follow my face. That means we have to keyframe the mask path and move the mask so it follows my head. As you can see, any changes I make to the mask path will automatically create a keyframe now. If you don't want to do this the manual way, what you can do is you can right click on the clip and replace with After Effects Composition to use the Roto Brush tool. You can watch this video right up here to see how that works. When you hear about VFX peeps complaining about rotoscoping, it's usually this step of the process, which leads me to the next tool, motion tracking. Luckily for us, Premiere can actually make this step a lot easier. Instead of keyframing the mask by hand, I can actually just click this arrow here, and now Premiere will try to track my head's movement. And bam! Hours of work saved. Although this might seem fine and dandy, there are a lot of limitations to this built-in tracker. For this demo, let me break down the intro shot from my video, How to Spice Up Your Video Edit. This shot has two main VFX elements, the redness of the face and the fire on the eyes. The rising red on my face is actually pretty simple. I just mask out this red color match to match my face and keyframe the crop effect to get the red to rise up. Now let's talk about the fire in the eyes. As you can see, it follows the movement of my eyes, and that's one thing motion tracking in Premiere can't do. Of course you could track it by hand, just kidding, who wants to do that? Well, if you want to avoid it, you gotta build up that courage and open up After Effects. First, in Premiere you can select both my layer and the fire layer and right click and choose Replace with After Effects Composition. And After Effects will open up with a project that links it to my Premiere Pro timeline. But before we jump into After Effects, let me tell you about where I got these awesome fire elements. And the answer is Production Crate, the sponsor of today's video. Production Crate has over 10,000 creative VFX elements that you can use in your videos. And the best part is they are pre-cut, meaning they come with an alpha transparency layer, making it easy to composite in your video. The Production Crate team creates all of the visual effects themselves, and they have an awesome YouTube channel showing you how to create visual effects, and they make it really easy and fun to understand. We also did a collab a few years back. I've been using their effects for many years, since the beginning of my channel. For example, that witch takeoff and landing effect, I use Production Crate, and I use their free After Effects hologram generator to turn myself into a hologram. When you browse their website, the assets with the star require a pro account, but the ones without are free. To sign up for a free plan, just uncheck the little donation box and you can get a free sample plan. But if you want a pro plan, you can use my link just down below. Thanks so much to Production Crate for sponsoring, and now let's get back into motion tracking. Here we have our footage in After Effects. Let's start tracking. After Effects compared to Premiere Pro has a much more powerful tracking system for both 3D and 2D. But for this video, let's stick with the basics. If you don't have the Tracker tab open, just go to Windows, Tracker. I want to track the movement of my eyes, so let's click on Track Motion. A track point will pop up here. The inside box is what we're tracking, and the outside box is the search area. Let's move and resize the box to my eyes. Now back at the Tracker tab, I can press Track Forward, and now we can let After Effects do its magic. Now that we have our tracking data, we need a place to dump it. Right-click on the empty space in your composition, and we're going to create a null layer, which is basically just an empty layer that you can attach anything to. We can also rename this layer by clicking Enter. Now, back at the tracker tab, let's edit target to choose our null layer and apply. Then press OK. Looking at the null layer now, you can see a bunch of keyframes which follow the movement of my eyes. So with this setup, I can now line up the fire to my eyes. And on the fire layer, click and hold this parent pick whip icon and drag it to our null layer. Now when I click play, the fire stays glued to my eyes. Let's jump over to this hiking footage. Could you tell me what's missing here? That's right, a UFO. So let's grab this UFO footage from Production Crate and let's plop it in. Now when I click play, it obviously doesn't look right because the UFO isn't following the movement of the camera. We can easily fix this by using the exact same method we used to follow my eyes. But instead of tracking my eyes, we're going to track the background. Let's also have AE track the rotation and scale. So now we got two boxes, just move both of them to two different spots with high contrast and start tracking. Now if we just redo what we did with the null layer, our UFO will feel like it's really there. Like I said earlier, VFX shots require a lot of different video assets, but what do you do if you don't have shots that are pre-cut with the alpha transparency from Production Crate? For example, if you have shots that have a black or white background or with a green screen. If you're dealing with a black and white background, you're most likely going to have to play around with the blend modes. For example, if you have a black background, you're going to want to change that to screen. But here I have a stock video shot of a wizard on a green screen. To key this out, we're going to use the key light effect. This could also be done in Premiere with the Ultra Key effect. They are both pretty similar, but the AE one is definitely more powerful. Moving over to the effect controls, we can color pick the green, and it will try to get rid of it. Emphasis on try. Let's change the view to screen matte so we can really see what's being keyed and what's not. I suggest you play around with these settings until you get a good mask. Solid black in the background is ideal as it means it is transparent, and solid white in the foreground is ideal as it means that it is opaque. And now let's switch back to final results to see how it looks. If you look at the cape, a lot of noise is brought out. And this is caused by key light trying way too hard to get rid of any grain spill on the subject. For some footage, it might work, but for this, let's change the view to intermediate result to bypass key light's spill suppression. Now I can use the advanced spill suppression effect instead to fix the ugly green spill on the subject. So now we know how to key the colors out, but let's use some fire ember effects from Production Crate to spice it up. Let's place it behind our subject on video layer 1. Now it's looking good, but let's add some more elements from Production Crate to complete our wizard shot. Breakdown happening in 3, 2, 1. Now the shot may seem overwhelming at first, but let me tell you, you already know how to do it, just using the basic essential effects that you've learned already in this video. For example, this magic lighting shooting out of the wand, for this I use the same tracking techniques as the fires in my eyes. But instead of the eyes, I'm just tracking the tip of the wand. And then I have the lighting and spark footage from Production Crate follow the track data. These fire ember overlays here are actually free assets from Production Crate, and I added one in front of the subject and one behind with some added blur and a lower opacity to create some depth. And finally, one important effect that glues it all together. So the light from the magic has to affect the subject and the background. To do this, I simply duplicate the wizard layer, set the blending mode to add to get our wizard to look way brighter. Now we just need to mask out parts of the body that we think the light from the magic will be affected from. In After Effects, you can use the pen tool up here to draw a mask just like in Premiere. And to see all of the mask attributes, just expand the layer in the composition. Here you can keyframe the opacity so this layer shows up along with the magic. I also keyframe the mask path to have it follow the movement of our wizard here. Now, just do the same thing with the background, and now the magic will light up our subject and the background. Obviously, if you want your shot to be super realistic, you're going to have to spend a lot more time finessing your VFX. But just with a few tricks, you can pretty much make whatever your mind can think of. That's why the most important thing is to stay creative. And as always, keep creating better video with Gal. See you next time. Bye. VFX. 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 Whew.